Welcome to the Money Manifestation Mastery podcast with your host, Lara Waldman, where we talk all things money. Big money, big purpose, big power. Waking up your wealth for heart-centered business owners and entrepreneurs. Welcome back. It is so wonderful to connect with you once again. I'm really looking forward to sharing today's content with you. We're going to be talking about the difference between lack consciousness and wealth consciousness. This is a really important conversation and one to bring your full presence and attention to. Lack and scarcity consciousness will be your default. Your brain goes into negativity very easily. We have an unconscious bias towards negativity. It takes energy to lead from your wealth, to tap into and create from your wealth consciousness. That is the practice, that is the discipline. In the last episode, I shared the importance of setting up a daily or regular money manifestation mastery practice to get to that money gym, start building those money muscles and transforming your relationship with money. It is a discipline, it is a practice. And even though your wealth consciousness is an incredibly powerful part of you and it is your true nature, your wealth frequency, your wealth consciousness from my point of view anyhow, it's all covered up with a mountain of money blocks, negative money mindset, negative money beliefs that are deep and old. And so it's going to be a discipline and a practice to rewire your thinking, rewire your point of view, rewire your perception, and start consciously creating from a deeper, richer place within. So to start this conversation, let's look at what is lack and scarcity consciousness versus wealth consciousness. In previous episodes, I've been sharing with you how to lead from your wealth, how to embody your wealth, that wealth that lies within. So if you haven't checked those out, you want to go and check out those previous episodes where I dive deep into the wealth that lives within you. But these two sides of you, the part of you that is your true abundant nature, this wealth consciousness that lives within you, is buried, is hidden. And your default is going to be towards negativity, towards lack and scarcity, especially when you're scared, especially when you're in the unknown, when you're anxious, when there's challenges, when there are struggles. Your default survival instincts, your default go-to patterns of protection will kick in and get activated. And this is where the discipline of money manifestation mastery becomes really, really important and also harder to do. It's easy to do when you're feeling good and you have space and you've got time. It really counts when you are going through struggle, when you're going through difficulty, when you've got setbacks and challenges. This is where the money manifestation mastery practice becomes really important and also very powerful. I'm going to talk about it in general and the themes that I see for my clients and for myself. But it's really important for you to start to become aware of how lack and scarcity consciousness shows up for you and how that creates in your life. Essentially, lack and scarcity consciousness comes from the place of not enough. There is not enough. I am not enough. It is not enough. The sense of lack. That is the core foundation of lack and scarcity. It's when you go into the part of you that feels separate from life, disconnected from yourself, disconnected from life. And that part of you feels disempowered. And the tendency is to go into victim consciousness, to feel like a victim of life circumstances. It's so hard, it's not fair, I'm not deserving, I'm not good enough, all of those old stories. But lack and scarcity consciousness can be a little sneaky because it's not always evident that lack and scarcity consciousness is running you. This is why it's a discipline and a practice. So I'm going to ask you just to think about for a minute, when you are in lack and scarcity and not enough, how does that manifest in your life? How does that show up for you? What are the patterns of behavior that you go into when you're coming from a place of lack and scarcity or not enough? How do you behave? What do you do? What do you not do? What is the action that you take when you are in lack and scarcity? What is the action that you don't take when you're in lack and scarcity? What are your default patterns of behavior? These are really important questions to ask yourself. Part of the discipline is going to be being mindful about what you do when you're in lack and scarcity consciousness, what you don't do, and to become aware of when you are creating from that place. The challenge is that lack and scarcity consciousness may have created results in your life so far. You may have created success from that place. You may have created your financial reality from that place. There may be lots of good things that you've created from lack and scarcity. You may have experienced a level of success from that place. It's not all bad. Lack and scarcity can definitely be a motivation, a driver to thrive in different areas. But the problem with lack and scarcity is that it comes from the not enough wound, which also means never enough. And this can be an insatiable, hungry ghost that you can never satisfy. And although that can be a driver and a motivator, and there can be value for some time in that place, there'll come a point in your life where that same drive, that same wound, that same place of lack, scarcity, and not enough that got you to a certain place, a certain level of success, is no longer working for you. And you'll know that based on the results that you're experiencing. You may have created financial success, what the world would deem to be financial success, but you know behind the scenes that there are some really important pieces missing. That could be love, that could be intimacy, that could be fulfillment or a sense of purpose, for example. Or you may be successful in other areas of your life, but you are experiencing financial problems, financial setbacks, financial hardship. So all of the current results in your life, in your business, in your bank account, in your finances, will show you, will be mirroring to you where there is some inner work to do. And yes, there's always inner work to do because we are constantly growing and evolving and transforming. So lack and scarcity can show up in so many ways. One of the ways is the hustle, the grind, the hard work, the pushing, the forcing to get results. And the challenge with this one is that can get results, and that does get results, but generally at a cost. It can create burnout. It can affect relationships negatively. It can have a lot of setbacks and challenges that go along with that. So with everything, there is a double-edged sword. It's not all good or all bad, but it's really about finding balance. You may find yourself procrastinating or avoiding from lack and scarcity, sabotaging yourself, having default patterns of behavior that you know is not you living in your highest version or most empowered version of you. So that could be drinking too much or eating too much, addictive patterns of behavior, things that you don't feel good about and you have shame around if you get really honest with yourself. Lack and scarcity can cause you to never allow yourself any rest or restoration, not feeling deserving or allowing yourself time and space. Lack and scarcity can affect your ability to have intimacy with others and experience pleasure in connection, in human connection, within intimacy. It can keep you overworking, overgiving, proving your worth, looking externally for validation. And although all of those things can create results, they can be a drive, a fuel to keep you going and moving forward, I've found that it doesn't create true fulfillment. And you may get a short-term hit, a short-term reward, but it's not sustainable. And I've also found that lack and scarcity consciousness squashes life. It squashes creativity. It squashes life force energy. It squashes part of you that is your creative power, your magnetism, your magic, your vulnerability, your sensitivity, the joy of being alive. So, how does lack and scarcity show up for you? How does it manifest? How does it materialize? What are the patterns of behavior? It's really important just to take a minute to become aware of that, to think about that, to reflect on that. Maybe you're rushing tasks. How does it show up for you? So let's take a look at wealth consciousness. So we've got an idea of lack and scarcity consciousness, how that shows up, what that creates in your life, how that drives you. And please bear in mind that most people are running off lack and scarcity consciousness. That is the normal in our world. That's our default. It doesn't take much energy to have negative bias, to run your life, the actions in your life from this unconscious place. What does take work is leading from your wealth. And yet, it's the most beautiful place to create from. And I would say simply, you haven't been taught how to create from your wealth, how to lead from your wealth. Your wealth consciousness has a very different point of view to your lack consciousness. Your wealth consciousness knows that there's more than enough, that you are enough. Wealth consciousness doesn't question its deservability, whether you are deserving of having something or not. Wealth consciousness is an isness. It's a state of being. And your wealth consciousness knows that you are interconnected with all of life. Yourself, this planet, the universe, nature, human beings. Wealth consciousness knows that there is no separation, that we are interconnected with all of things. Wealth consciousness doesn't rush. Wealth consciousness sees the bigger picture. Wealth consciousness has perspective. Wealth consciousness is patient. Wealth consciousness is clear. There's a great wisdom that comes from wealth consciousness. It's a deep, rich, embodied knowing. And this wealth consciousness knows how to work with its natural flow, its natural energy, and to create from that place. The challenge here is that your mind, your hardwiring, that computer hard drive in that brain of yours, may not have any data or evidence or information about how your wealth consciousness creates. And this is why it's important to move beyond logic alone and go into feeling, moving into the body, the heart, the soul, tapping into a deeper, richer wisdom within, and letting that wealth consciousness be your guide. The money manifestation mastery practice is about getting to know your wealth consciousness, its point of view, how it creates, what it wants, what it desires, what it knows. And this may be very different from your current way of thinking, perceiving, what you know to be possible, what you believe to be possible. And it will mean quieting down the mind, balancing your emotional reactions, and sinking deeper into the self. Your wealth consciousness lives within vulnerability. It lives beneath pain, old trauma patterns. It's buried under the shadows of shame, and it's where you've been protecting yourself. Most people go around like walking, talking heads in their thinking, in their logic, but not connected to their bodies, not connected to their feelings, not connected to who they truly are, what they truly want and desire. We're cut off and disconnected from the most part. When you're cut off and disconnected from who you truly are, when you're cut off and disconnected from life and the universe, you will feel lack. You will feel not enough. You will feel alone and separate. But the truth is that you're not. So as a next step, my invitation to you would be to get curious, to interview both sides of you, your lack consciousness and your wealth consciousness. You could imagine it like the angel and the devil on your shoulders. What does your lack consciousness tell you? What are the stories, the points of views, or beliefs of your lack consciousness? When you're in fear, frustration, not enough, failure, setbacks, things aren't working in your favor. What are the stories that you're telling yourself? What does that lack and scarcity consciousness have to say about it? Versus your wealth consciousness. What does your wealth consciousness have to say about the very same situation, the very same scenario? Your wealth consciousness is tapped into the bigger picture, the guidance of your soul, of your heart, of your body, of this planet, of the collective consciousness. This part of you has a 360-degree perspective on what is here and what is happening. Your lack consciousness, because of separation and disconnection, believes that you're all on your own. It's all about survival, hard work, hustle. It's all hopeless, right? And all those stories that you go into from that place. So they are going to have very different points of views, very different belief systems, and very different strategies. And it comes down to making a choice. My invitation to you is to make a conscious choice about where you're making decisions from, how you're reacting, what you're choosing to do or not do. So for now, I recommend getting curious. When a problem arises, when there's an issue, when there's a challenge, pause for a minute, take a breath, take a few minutes, and ask yourself, what does my lack consciousness say about this? What is my reactive default response to this situation? And what does my wealth consciousness say? The part of me that's tapped in to more than enough, that's interconnected. And what I like to say is, what if all the safety, security, and support is with you now? All the money, all the resources, all the love, everything that you require and desire is with you now. Then what do you choose? Then how do you react? And then how do you respond? This is about making conscious choices, leading in your life consciously, taking mindful action. Most of the time, we take action from reaction, from our default patterns and programming, from lack and scarcity consciousness. And although this can create results and can move things forward, I find it doesn't usually scratch that itch. It's not really going to get you the results that you truly desire. It might get you the results that your ego desires, that you think you want, And you're not going to realize until you achieve those results that it wasn't quite it. And sometimes we need to have those experiences to realize, oh, this thing I've been hustling for, grinding for, working hard for, maybe that's not quite it. And that's fine, and that's okay. But what I like to ask is, what is your wealth consciousness calling you towards? What is it that you truly want, that you truly desire? And how does your wealth consciousness know how to get it, how to create it? And it will be quite different to what your lack and scarcity consciousness tells you. So if you're new to the idea of creating from your wealth consciousness, put it to the test. Have a play. Explore. Imagine this is a new tool or a new toy that you're getting to know. It's going to take a little bit of time for that logical mind of yours to trust in your leadership from your wealth consciousness, to understand how this part of you works, how it creates, and to rewire some of your thinking, some of your very hardwired patterns, programs, beliefs, and perspectives around what is or is not possible. So the next time you have a problem or a challenge or setback where your financial reality is not flowing in the way that you want it, interview the two sides of you. What is your lack consciousness saying? What is your wealth consciousness saying? What is the part of you that is in not enough saying? And what is the part of you that has all that you need saying? What are the two points of views and perspectives? And listen, tap in to the wisdom of your wealth consciousness and tap into the beliefs and points of views of your lack consciousness and see the difference. And then from there, you get to choose where you take action from, what point of view and what perspective. My invitation would always be to lead from your wealth, taking aligned action guided by your heart, body, and soul. It creates in a much more direct and effective way. It takes a lot less energy, but it also takes time to trust this part of yourself. You're building a relationship with this part of yourself. And slowly but surely, you'll get to know how this part of you creates effectively through your body, into your business, into your bank account. Thank you for joining us for this week's episode, Lack Consciousness versus Wealth Consciousness. I would absolutely love to hear how you've been enjoying this podcast so far, what's been popping for you in today's episode. Feel free to send me an email or reach out to me via one of my social media platforms. Visit my website, larawaldman.com, and you can contact me from there. I look forward to being with you again next time for another episode of the Money Manifestation Mastery podcast.